Greatest irony of the nonprofit known as Black Lives Matter is that it was created and run by people with tremendous contempt for black people. Black liberal elites, who we're talking about, and much like white liberal elites, they live in a coddled life, separated from the issues over which they obsess. They expect the regular black community to thrive as they do on virtue. Black liberal elites expect black Americans to ignore poverty, crime, and despair as it destroys their own neighborhoods. Patrisse Cullors is the matriarch of all this. This week, Black Lives Matter was forced to open up their books for the first time since a flood of what they call white guilt money poured in after the death of George Floyd. Around $90 million got dumped on BLM. There have been hints all over that this Marxist organization was blatantly corrupt. We report on them all the time. Now we have the actual details. Transparency that Patrisse Cullors thinks is very dangerous.
This doesn't seem safe for us, this 990 structure, this nonprofit system structure. This is like deeply unsafe. Like this is being literally weaponized against us. And the mob is being weaponized by the right. And now we are all having to shuffle to figure out how to defend ourselves.
That's about as close as you're going to get to an admission of guilt. Oh, you want to see what I did with $90 million that got dumped in my lap? That's racist. It's dangerous for me. Don't forget, I'm a victim. How embarrassing that is. But when you have no shame, you don't experience embarrassment. So where exactly did the money go? The details are amazing. Outside of a $3 million play pad in the Hollywood Hills, which BLM mysteriously paid $6 million for, where'd that other $3 million go? We'll see. Well, the tax filing shows the foundation paid nearly $970,000 to the father of Patrisse's child. Oh. Trap Heels LLC is a company founded by Damon Turner in the picture there. Paid for creative services for Black Lives Matter, nearly $1 million worth of creative services. Pretty wild that there was nobody better suited for that job in the entire world than the man that Patrisse Cullors sleeps with and has kids with. Interestingly enough, Cullors is also, at the same time, married to a woman whose name is Janiyah Khan, who's also a big-time leader of Black Lives Matter. And another of BLM's priorities was buying a $6.3 million mansion in Janiyah Khan's hometown. Oh, Toronto, Canada. A mansion that formerly housed the Canadian Communist Party, which is simply incredible for about 1,000 different reasons, if only we had the time. This huge mansion. No mansions were bought in Ottawa, none in Vancouver, just one in Toronto, right down the street from Patrisse Cullors' wife. And maybe the most optically ridiculous example, the foundation paid more than $840,000 to Cullors Protection LLC, which is a fancy way of saying Patrisse Cullors' brother's name, Paul Cullors, a young man who spent his entire life as a graffiti artist, but then transformed immediately into a private security company when there was $840,000 to be made from his sister's corrupt scheme. Now he's a security guard. Kind of go together, right? Graffiti artist, security guard. Of course, that was necessary because Patrisse Cullors says she's unable to trust police to protect her. Her graffiti artist brother is much better at the job, I'm sure. So there you just have some bits and pieces of Black Lives Matter and where some of that money went. Another $30 million or so went into stock, and the rest of it, who knows? This is the reality of that organization. And to the thousands of Americans and fake woke corporations like Walmart who donated to this ridiculous cause, please enjoy the humiliation that you so righteously deserve. But there is a story here that is much more important than rich white people, liberal people, wasting their money. They usually have plenty of money. They can waste as much as they want. It's what this corrupt scheme actually did to the black community that is important. The pain and the misery and the death inflicted by Patrisse Cullors so she could make her entire family very rich and buy millions of dollars worth of property all over the place. New York's mayor summed it up quite well after more than a dozen black kids were gunned down in a single weekend in April. Take a listen.
Here's my question that I put out to the city. Hey, I thought Black Lives Matter. Where are all those who stated Black Lives Matter? If Black Lives Matters, then the thousands of people I saw on the street when Floyd was murdered should be on the street right now stating that the lives of these Black children that are dying every night matters.
But they don't matter. The Black Lives Matter. We know that. Again, the irony of being called Black Lives Matter when your organization not only doesn't care about Black lives, but actually profits off of their demise is astounding. Take a listen as Patrisse Cullors' Canadian wife perfectly illustrates Black liberal elitism.
It's about transformative justice, non-prison, non-police-based strategies for dealing with violence and crisis in our communities. Who hasn't had a bad day? Who hasn't felt anxious or depressed? The question is, should anybody deserve to die because of it?
That is somebody that does not have to dodge bullets on her way to the bus stop. That is somebody that's not in the thick of it. While trying to convince you that society doesn't need police because all they do is kill people, which is completely false according to every single actual statistic that the left constantly ignore. Janaya Khan completely ignores the slaughter that has become Black inner cities in this country. Of course she does. That's what they all do. It is a plague of violence that they ignore, that they've exacerbated, to be honest. The truth is, her organization, BLM, has done more harm to the Black community than anything or anyone else over the last 2 years. It's a fact that's not even remotely up for debate. It's common sense at this point. From NPR, here it is. The rate at which Americans were killed in gun homicides leapt by nearly 35% in 2020 to the highest level in more than 25 years. No group was affected more than Black people, who died by firearm homicides at a rate far higher than any other racial or ethnic group. This is what happens when you disarm the police. This is what happens when you destroy policing in a country in neighborhoods that are heavily dependent on it. You're talking about thousands of people here. Several thousand dead young Black, mostly men. That's the reality of BLM. And it doesn't even register to the organization. Why? Because they're too busy making money. It's not even a blip on their radar. Think about that for a minute. Think about how much time, how much destruction we saw over the death of one Black man and how many thousands have died since that nobody has even batted an eye about. And then look at the organization that caused it and look at the reality of it. And now we're seeing it because of the IRS and this tax filing. Fixing the real problem in this country does not come with the financial benefits of dividing Americans, shaming the white race, and making tens of millions of dollars. That is the real problem here.